Good morning, beloved ones.
Good morning. Good morning.
It is my honor and pleasure to introduce Michael Bradford to you. He is my friend, a respected colleague, and a spiritual healer who has blessed and uplifted me and thousands through his healing work. He has traveled the world, visiting 53 countries and every state in America. He has extensive experience in the business world, as well as the spiritual world, where he utilizes his degree in international marketing and his many healing modalities. He has trained with the best, becoming a practiced, clear, and gentle channel for divine spirit. With his pure heart and keen vision, Michael offers us a pattern of extraordinary results, as they say at Heart Song. And we will join him today in welcoming Michael Bradford, who has been coincidentally present when many people are healed. And we will be healed today with Michael's presence and divine spirit. Michael Bradford.
I want to thank you for inviting me. Please know that what I'm going to talk about today is not about Michael. It's about spirit. It's about the energy that comes through. It's about allowing yourself to be part of a team. And I'm very honored and privileged. My team changes depending upon what's needed. And it's about forgiveness, compassion, and possibilities. I was told that Spirit chose me because I have a big mouth. I am the earth piece for Spirit in the team. The rest of the team, of course, is in Spirit. It changes. And I am a resource for the source. My agreement with Spirit is I'm not allowed to edit, change, modify, water down anything that's told to me. A lot of times I am told to give it with exactly the same inflection and force and power. And a lot of times that's to break loose the hard crystalline energy that is entrapping the person. There are two gifts that I want to give you today at the end of this talk. One is I'm going to use the samurai sword to energetically cut free everything that you're willing to let go of. Now, Archangel Michael uses a lightsaber. And what I am, when I do the ceremony, I am overshadowed by Spirit. So Spirit is using me, Archangel Michael is using me to do that process. It is not I, Michael, that is doing it. So I have some questions for you. What is the deepest root cause of illness and disease? Headaches, allergies, diabetes, cancer? What's the real root cause? And for me, it's about the body. The body keeps on compensating and compensating and compensating till at one point it says, I can't compensate anymore. I can't handle it anymore. And the body starts breaking down. When we are guided, I am guided, I don't work through the layers of the onion. What happens for me is I'm shown the core issue that the person has, the time when they made a decision, they had a reaction, they got stuck. And that's where I work, is at that stuck point. So which is harder to heal, a headache or cancer? For me, they're equal. There is no difference. When a frail woman lifts a car off a child, is that a miracle? Or is that just someone who has totally focused their intention, totally focused their energy, and knew that they had to do what they were going to do? That's it. There was no doubt. There was no confusion. There was no question. It was a total alignment. And when that total alignment happens, when we allow it to happen, miracles happen. So I'm going to ask everyone now just to take a deep breath and to relax. And I'm going to ask you to sense the energy in the room, and already the energy is high. The music, the prayers are already high. However, I'd like to take it to another level. I'd like to ask for the dimensional doorways to be open, and the angels and the archangels from the schools of wisdom to come forward. I'd like to invite in my guides and teachers. I'd like to invite in your guides and teachers. I'd like you to sense the energy in the room. And what I'm going to ask is for Spirit to keep raising the energy levels so that you can achieve whatever healing you are meant to receive. Again, this is between you and your higher self. All I am doing is anchoring the energy. I'm a catalyst. I have one more question for you. Every day, I ask for at least one miracle. Will you be my miracle today? You can open your eyes and just be present now. I'd like to read you a poem I wrote back in 2001. By the way, I'm also a published poet. The poem is called When You Are Ready. When you are ready, your life will begin to change, and the past, with all its hurts, pains, and disappointments, will gently melt away. When you are ready, your confusion, resistance, fears, and doubts will dissipate, and your desire for freedom will grow, beckoning you to fully embrace the real you. When you are ready, your mask, your survival kit will no longer be needed, and the true you, the authentic you, will gingerly peek out, seeking the light of life. When you are ready, your pride, looking good and being right, will no longer matter. For your desire for truth, connection, and spirit will awaken and fill you. When you are ready, your vision will clear, and you will know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, the gift that you already are. It is time, beloved being of light, to ignite and shine bright. Back in 1990, I was part of a men's group, healing group, in Portland, Oregon. And we'd gather once a week, put out a massage table, and whoever wanted to work jumped on the massage table, and the rest of the guys would tune into the energy. Now, everyone had clothes on. It wasn't about massage or anything else. And one person was a medical doctor, one was a chiropractor, one was a massage therapist, one was acupuncture. We had a whole different group of people. They were all professional healers. And I was always the odd one out, because the person would get on the table and everyone would tune in and everyone would get the same thing. And I said, that's not what I'm getting. And I'd think there was something radically wrong with me. Well, after they worked for an hour or something, then they'd finally work through the layers and they'd say, oh, Michael, now we're seeing what you're seeing. So whatever was going on, my guides and teachers, even back then, were taking me to the root core not the layers of the onion. And I had to learn to appreciate the fact that I was not picking up what everybody else picks up. That the guides, the teachers were working with me differently. So I'd like to give you some examples of possibilities. Again, I give the credit to Spirit. Peter, an American in his early 50s, was highly allergic to cilantro, coriander. When his mother would cut the coriander, even when he was a kid, and then use the same knife to cut him a slice of bread, he would get violently ill. In a workshop I was doing, I said, I've never met an allergy that was real. He stood up and he's screaming at me. Michael, you don't know what you're talking about. 34 seconds later, he was totally clear. Because what I saw was a past life where coriander was mixed in with poison and the two were linked. That was the root cause. That was the deepest root cause. And when that link broke, his allergy disappeared. Never came back. I talked to him 7 years later. He said, Michael, it's never come back. He was violently ill. Jane, a European woman in her early 60s, had cancer for 12 years. She came to me and I said, how can I serve you? She said, Michael, they sent me home to die. The doctors gave up. They said, I have 3 months. I kept asking her, what happened 15 years ago? Nothing. What happened 15 years ago? Nothing. What happened 15 years ago? Nothing. Finally, after about 5 minutes there, she went, and I said, what did you get? She said, 15 years ago, my daughter and I had a fight. And I said, the daughter said she never wanted to see or talk to the mother again. And I said, how did that make you feel? She said, I just wanted to die. I said, bingo. 1 private session and 1 workshop. And in the workshop, she wrote her daughter a letter saying, you have a right to your own opinion. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. And she left that workshop glowing. I could not see any cancer in her body. Sally, an Asian woman in her 40s, came to see me with hepatitis C. Heck, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what hepatitis C is. I don't know what causes it. I don't know anything about hepatitis C. But I was guided to work with her liver and anger. I got an email from her 6 months later. She said, Michael, I had a 1.4 million virus count when I came to see you. In the medical profession and the hospital she went to, which specialized in that, it only fluctuated a couple of percentage points ever. Hers dropped to 300,000 from 1.4 million, and my understanding is she was finally released as cured. And she had been on medication, everything before, nothing worked. Again, I don't know enough about hepatitis C. All I'm guided to is what Spirit is telling me, showing me, and directing me to say. Alexandra, a Greek woman in her late 30s, had hypertension since she was 5 years old. She was in her late 30s. And what I saw, her family was very wealthy. So they had taken her to all the specialists in the world, the best ones. No one could help her. I saw that when she was about 4 years old, 5 years old, her father was washing her and the towel went up between her legs and she jumped. She didn't know what it was, but her body reacted. When I shared with her that story, she let go for the first time, cried, and healed. Paul, a businessman in Australia in his late 40s, told me about his wife being pregnant again. They had already had 2 miscarriages. And here again, I don't want to say caught in a little bit of a challenge. It was a business situation. But I turned to him and I knew him as a business person. I said, look, this is the work I do. I'm getting real clearly your wife is going to miscarry again if you don't come see me. Please come see me. It wound up that he and his wife were both sexually abused as children. And they did not want to bring a child into this world unless they could absolutely guarantee the safety of the child. And what I was guided to say to them was, you cannot guarantee anything in life. All you can do is your best. That one session wound up creating a whole chain of events. Their lives changed dramatically. And I had a phone call 6 months later. Michael, we have a healthy child. We don't think we'd have this child had it not been for that session with you. John, an American in his late 30s, was a head trainer for a personal development center. His corporation was so big that it actually had a personal development department of over 30 people. They invited me to come in and speak, and I started talking to the group, and I said, after about 5 minutes, I stopped and I said, this isn't working for me. I cannot tell you and what I do. You have to see it to understand it. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't go on unless I can work with someone. And they had told me, do not touch anyone, do not work with anyone. All of a sudden, after a couple of moments of silence, the head trainer stood up. He was in the back of the room. He's in his 30s. He said, I don't know what you've got, but I want it. And I said, can you please come up to the center of to the front of the room? Now, normally I would stand alongside the person I'm working with. In this case, I didn't. For whatever reason, I walked towards the back of the room. And I stood there. And I said, how may I serve you? He said, Michael, I've been in counseling and therapy for over 13 years working on my mother issues. I can't crack it. What am I missing? He is the head trainer of an international personal development company, 13 years in counseling and therapy, cannot crack what it is. And I just looked at him and I said, it's easy. It's not your mother. I said, did your father ever tell you he loved you and respected you? Explosion, emotional explosion. He grew 2-3 inches taller. His whole energy changed. Thank you, Spirit. If the guides and teachers weren't working with me, I wouldn't have that information. Back in 1985, I was in Whitehorse in the Yukon, driving to Haines, Alaska to take the inland ferry back down to the United States. It was 40 degrees below zero. I had no thermostat in my car, and I had a quarter tank of gas. I left early in the morning, and no gas stations were open. I said, I'll find another gas station. I didn't realize that it was all national forest for the next 100 miles. My car never got 100 miles on a quarter tank of gas. I learned how to pray. I learned how to hold the energy. I learned how to have faith, let's put it that way. I was petrified because when it's 40 degrees below, especially in Alaska when there's not that many cars going by, you're dead. My car took 13.8, the tank held 13.8 gallons. It filled to 13.8 gallons when I got to the gas station. How that car ever made it, it was on God and Spirit. It wasn't on anything else. Chandra, an Asian woman in her late 30s, came to me. She said, Michael, I want a relationship. I can't find a relationship. Nothing works. And I looked at her. From the minute she walked in, I knew what the issue was. And I said, you were a twin in the womb and your twin died. Now, let me just say this. 20%, at least 20% of us, even if we were born single ourselves, we had a twin. And that accounts for a lot of the grief and sadness that people feel that they don't understand. A lot of twins were triplets or quadruplets. A lot of these children do not make it. So when I said this to Chandra, I said, you know, you were a twin. She said, oh my God, is that why I buy two of everything? I buy 2 vacuum cleaners identical. I buy 2 pairs of shoes. Everything I buy 2 pairs identical. I said, yeah, you're buying one for your twin. When she let that go, her life changed. Roseanne, an English woman in her late 30s, experienced severe neck pain all of her life. She wrote and published a health journal. She spent, and this is going back in the early 1990s, she had spent over $100,000 on medical treatments. Nothing would help her neck pain. When I looked at her, I saw 3 lifetimes where she had been either hung or her head was chopped off. I told her that. I worked with her to clear the energy. Boom, it went away. The whole thing was a couple of minutes. See, it's not about time, it's about precision. When I was in Ireland, I should put the Irish hat back on. When I was in Ireland, I was teaching at a chiropractic clinic, and I've also taught in medical clinics. And the chiropractor said, Michael, can you come in and take a look at my client? Because no matter what I do, I can't get this adjustment to hold. So I went in. The guy was laying face down on the table. All I did was poke my head around the corner. I said, what happened between you and your father when you were 16? Again, explosion. I don't need to know the details. The details are not important. By the way, people's stories hold no value. I will give you a very important secret. I have never, ever, ever, ever met a situation or a person where their stories gave me any valuable information. Where they get stuck is the decisions they make about life and living. So I look at what the decisions were. I can't trust men, I can't trust women, I'm not safe, I'm not enough, I'll never have what I want, whatever it is. And then where did it come from, mother, father? It doesn't matter. You clear that and the whole energy shifts. When I was in Kuwait, there was a woman in her late 30s that attended one of my workshops. 2 weeks later, she calls me up. 3 weeks later, she calls me up. She said, Michael, my thyroid problems are gone. Now, what's interesting is this woman never told me she had a thyroid problem. For years and years and years, she suffered with a thyroid problem, and the doctors could not get it within balance. And apparently, the way whatever she had, the numbers kept on jumping all over the place. Everything disappeared after the workshop. By the way, I'll tell you another quick story. When I was on an airplane going from Boston to London one time, it's a long flight. I was sitting next to a woman, and I was in the middle seat. Hate the middle seat, but that's okay. I was in the middle seat. I was talking to this woman. I said, where are you going? She said, I'm going to London. I said, what for? I said, I live in London. Now, I did at the time. She said, I'm having a thyroid operation. And all of a sudden, my guides came through with all the information. I went, oh, can you send someone else, please? Do I have to do this? And they said, Michael, you made the agreement. Be the mouthpiece. And I turned to her and I said, I have some very personal information to share with you. It's up to you whether I share it or not. And she said, yes. And this woman was early 40s. And I said to her, I said, have you ever told anyone that you were sexually abused as a child by a family member? And I said, if you don't deal with that and talk about it and straighten it out with the family, the thyroid operation is not going to do you any good. You don't need the thyroid operation. You just need to speak your truth. Athens, Greece. A yoga teacher came to me for a session, then another yoga teacher, and then a whole bunch of yoga students. And what happened was, I said, what's going on? And they said, Michael, our postures have changed, our range of movement has changed, our breathing has changed after one session. So releasing the energy blockage allowed that to happen. I'm going to skip and talk about one of the most embarrassing situations for me in my life. I was giving a talk, 2.5-hour talk, which is normally what I do. And a woman came in, and instantly I had a dislike to her. She was very heavy. She didn't look like she took care of herself. And something just really triggered me with this woman. And the voice in my head was, who let this woman in? Now, as Spirit would have it, with all teachers, where did she come and sit? She came and sat right in the front row, right in front of me. So I give my 2.5-hour talk with demonstrations. And I said, does anyone have any questions? And she said, Michael, I've been in out of mental institutions all my life. Is there any hope for a person like me? Now, in order to read her energy, I had to open my heart. And I almost burst into tears. I almost lost it. And here's what I said to her. I said, there's nothing wrong with you. I said, your mother was crazy, wasn't she? Yes, yes. I said, and all you wanted to do was have a happy childhood. Yes. I said, you never had it, did you? No. And I explained to her how in order to survive, she kept absorbing her mother's craziness and dysfunctional patterns and negativity to the point where she had only 2% of her own energy. After the workshop, after the talk rather, she came up to me and said, can I attend the workshop? And I said, sure. She worked her butt off. 2 weeks after the workshop, I get a phone call from the coordinator saying this woman is coming off of her medication. Now, she never worked. She's coming off of her medication. She's losing weight. And she got a job, her first job. I think it was in Pizza Hut. So her whole life turned around. But she thought she was crazy. Everyone thought she was crazy. She was treated as a crazy woman. And all it was, her energy field was contaminated with other people's energy. When I worked in Malaysia at a medical clinic, they said, Michael, the work you do is the single most important work. It is more important than us, the doctors. And they talked to me about bringing me in as part of their team. They said, because we cannot tell what's a medical issue and we cannot tell what's an energetic and a spiritual issue. And if you clear out the spiritual issues and the energetic issues, then we really get a chance to know what we need to treat medically. So I'm going to move along pretty quick. There's a responsibility of 3 different people. Number 1, the patient, client. They have to be open, receptive. I've had clients come to me and go, heal me, I dare you. That's usually when their wife took them. And there's people that come and say, I'm ready, I'm open, I'm receptive. And those are the people a lot of times that get the healing. My job is to be totally clear. No desire, no expectations, just holding sacred space, sitting in the void. Only see the perfection, the perfected state. Raise my frequency and vibration. It's like going and having a very cloudy day, and you keep going higher and higher in an airplane. All of a sudden you break free and you can see forever. Well, that's true with energy too. Eliminate all labeling. Never, ever, ever talk about cancer, diabetes, or anything. You're just empowering it. When someone comes to me, I never see them as sick. I see their blueprint. I see their perfection. Remain calm, peaceful, hopeful. Stay in the present, not the past, not the future. Know that you are the master creator. We have 2 choices. We either create good stuff or we create junk. It's up to us what we create. And the more we focus on the positive, the more we create positive. Visualize, see the positive results of your prayers and the healing. Speak from your heart and soul. Speak from your God self. Their heart and soul will hear it. When you come from that pure place, it sets up a resonance pattern between you and the other person and allows spirit to come in even stronger. When I was working in a cancer clinic in England, and this cancer clinic unfortunately did not materialize because of financial challenges, but they actually asked me to be over the medical doctors and over the whole staff at that point. And they asked me to put together a questionnaire on which people would be accepted into our program. And I had 25 questions, but only 3 questions mattered. Question number 1, do you believe in a higher power? I don't care what kind of, you call it Buddha, God, Jesus, I don't care what you call it. Do you believe in a higher power, something other and more than yourself? Number 2, do you believe it's possible for you to heal? Because if you don't believe it's possible, it's not going to work. And number 3, what do you have to live for? If you don't have something that's your passion that you want to do, whether it's someone you love, a place you want to go visit. So it's very important to have those 3 questions. Nurture your body, eat healthy food, the power of choice. You are a God creating. Choose wisely. Identify, transmute, transform the deepest root cause. Go deep. Be a strong, positive role model. Lighten up and play. Be like a child. I love the movie The Shack. I went to see it 3 times and saw it the first time and went out and bought the book 5 minutes later. And I sat there and it was like, yep, I could see myself in the shack. I could see how I allowed life to affect me. Have faith and trust in the process. Know, absolutely know, that there is light in the tunnel and at the end of the tunnel. Every moment we're being guided. Karma. People talk about karma. And what I've learned is karma can be transmuted instantly. All karma is learning your lesson. It is not some big taboo. Karma is about learning your lesson. When you go directly to what the lesson is, you can do it quickly. As long as you're open and receptive. Stay present in your body. I've worked with over 30,000 people all over the world. I've only met 5 people, 5 who are more than 30% energetically present in their physical bodies as I measure it. Now, if you're not in your body, what is? Who is? Now, when people are in their body, in my belief, in my model of the world, it is impossible for them to be sick. It is impossible for them to have challenges. Well, they do have challenges, but they're healthy and they're more able to cope with it. So people's energy field is either expanding or imploding. I am talking too long. So I will say this, I resigned a long time ago. I'm not the hero, I'm not a rescuer, and I'm not a fixer. You have to do the work. My job is to help you get the information and to watch and to make sure that the energy is integrating in a way that's helpful for you. Now I have a gift for you. If you want the gift. This is a samurai sword. This was actually gifted to me by people who watched me do a ceremony a long time ago. So I'm going to ask you now, if you're willing, and my preference is for you to do an open-eyed meditation, but you can do a closed-eyed, whatever you want to do. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just take a deep breath, connect even deeper with your guides and teachers. And I'm going to ask you, as a personality and as a soul, to take whatever it is that you're ready to let go of and lift it in a bubble or like a balloon about 3 feet above your head. So just take a deep breath and ask your higher self, your guides and teachers to help you. Using your focused intention, just allow this energy to collect about 3 feet above your head. And you can even let go of more issues if you'd like. And I'm going to ask Archangel Michael to empower this sword, for Archangel Michael to overshadow me, for the beings of light to come in and help. And I'm going to ask now for you to be cut free of everything that you're ready to let go of. And I'm going to ask you now to breathe in even more white light and welcome that part of yourself, those parts of yourself that you may have judged. Offer them compassion and bring them back home so that you may be healthy, whole, and complete. Thank you, and God bless you.